A screenplay the studio heads wanted, shredded before they'd even finished reading it. A production where the cast spent 2 weeks drunk across Eastern Europe, while the director ended up bleeding on set, and a distributor so terrified of a catastrophic flop that it committed fraud to fill cinema seats. A medieval epic about dusty nights, set to booming 1970s stadium rock by Queen and David Bowie. The risk was enormous, the skepticism paralysing. Then the impossible happened. A Knight's Tale grossed over $117 million worldwide and became one of the most unconventional cult films of its era. Critics called it a historically accurate nightmare. Audiences said, "Hold my popcorn." Today we're counting down the 16 most insane facts from behind the scenes, including a brutal accident near the finale that the director fixed with a household product. Let's go with number 16. Number 16. The Miles Davis of the Airport. The entire existence of this film hangs on an absurd coincidence in an airport restaurant in Los Angeles. Heath Ledger had just wrapped The Patriot and was stuck on a 5-hour layover. Heathl met him to see whether this young Australian had what it took for the lead. Ledger was carrying a long wooden tube. When Heathl asked what it was, Ledger pulled out a real didgeridoo in the middle of the packed restaurant and started playing. Heathl later described it as a blend of traditional Aboriginal sounds and a white Australian Miles Davis. The entire restaurant stared. He offered him the role at the table. Number 15. The Female Blacksmith. They tried to erase Sony, demanded the female blacksmith Kate be cut entirely. Their argument, it was historically impossible for a woman to run an armor forge in the medieval period. Heathl flew to London, dug through the royal archives, and found 14th century documents proving that when a master blacksmith died, his widow often took over, legally running the forge and producing armor for the highest nobility. He put the evidence on their table. The irony: the studio complained about the historical accuracy of a female blacksmith while the knights in the film rode into the arena to Stadium Rock by Queen. Number 14. The Pasta Lances. The jousting scenes hit hard because the lances explode into splinters on impact. On screen, it looks like lethal wooden shrapnel. Behind the scenes, it smelled like an Italian kitchen. The props department built the lances from hollow balsa wood, then filled the cavities with uncooked spaghetti and linguine. When the lances struck the armor, the pasta burst in a dramatic cloud. The studio originally wanted expensive CGI. A practical test against a concrete wall proved pasta is cheaper and looks more real. Number 13. The Garden Audition. Sony refused to cast Paul Bettany as Chaucer, and Heathl threatened to walk. Studio versus director resolved with a home camera in a garden. Heathl let Bettany improvise, a scene where he panics, trying to pull a thorn from his foot and eventually bites it out with his teeth. He put the uncut footage on the Sony executives' table the next morning. When the entire conference room burst out laughing, Bettany was hired. Number 12. The 12-Cent Brotherhood. When word spread about how cheap life in early 2000s Eastern Europe was, the entire main cast flew to Prague weeks early. Heathl sent them on a 14-day pub crawl. A pint of Czech beer cost 12 cents. Away from studio control, what formed wasn't a professional working relationship, it was a genuine brotherhood. When you watch the characters in the film, you feel it. These men weren't playing loyal friends. They became one in those 2 weeks. Number 11. The $130,000 veto. That bond was badly needed because the studio came down hard. Sony sent furious emails and put Heathl under enormous budget pressure over delays. The church confrontation between William and Jocelyn cost $130,000 a day. As an act of pure, creative defiance, Heathl shot the entire 4-minute scene in a single continuous take. No close-ups, no safety net. When the panicked studio bosses demanded the alternative camera angles, Heathl answered, "There aren't any. But I just saved you $130,000 in 1 day." Number 10. The Criminal Extras. The opening sequence needed thousands of extras to fill the stands. With the budget tight, the Czech production team recruited hundreds of extras directly from Prague's poorest districts, homeless shelters, and organized crime. The atmosphere on set became unmanageable. The mood was so aggressive and unpredictable that Heathl had to bring in armed Czech security forces to protect the Hollywood stars from their own extras. The threatening, volatile energy you feel in the stands in the finished film wasn't crowd choreography. It was the street. Number 9. The Czech Silence. Those Czech extras didn't speak a word of English. When Bettany delivered Chaucer's first epic speech announcing William, he gave everything, screaming, gesturing, a full performance. When he finished, absolutely nothing. The extras simply didn't know they were supposed to cheer. Mark Addy broke the paralyzing silence with an improvised, "yeah," which gave the extras their cue. The moment was so funny it stayed in the film. But these communication failures and the logistical pressure were nothing compared to the raw fear that followed the stunt team every day. The jousting wasn't faked in a studio. Real professionals rode at full gallop, and that led to an escalation that briefly shut the production down entirely. Which brings us straight to number 8. Number 8. The real knockout. During the first major tournament, a lance bounced back on impact and struck lead stuntman Tom DuPont full in the head. He lost consciousness instantly, but didn't fall. He remained rigid and upright in the saddle while his horse completed the run at a gallop. The camera caught it perfectly. The scene is in the Finnish film, unchanged. Helgeland later said the crew lived in fear of serious injury every single day. Number 7. The voice that destroyed him. Bettany was under enormous pressure not to disappear next to Heath Ledger. Before each take, he hid behind the grandstands and screamed at full volume against the walls for minutes. The oxygen deprivation caused repeated dizzy spells. He nearly collapsed in front of the camera multiple times. By the end of production, his vocal cords were so badly damaged, he was medically mute for 2 weeks. Number 6. From birthday party to franchise. The casting of female lead, Jocelyn, is one of Hollywood's purest stories of chaos. Shannon Sossamon was a completely unemployed 20-year-old with no acting ambitions. She tagged along with a friend to an exclusive birthday party at Gwyneth Paltrow's house to quietly drink cheap drinks and DJ in the background. The film's casting director spotted her for her unique style. 5 months later, she auditioned, beat out established stars including Kate Hudson, and signed a contract for a $65 million project. Number 5. The Liar in the Saddle. Alan Tudyk used a classic but dangerous Hollywood tactic at his audition. He lied. Asked about horse experience, he claimed to be an excellent rider. The bill came on the very first day of shooting in Prague. Tudyk mounted his horse, immediately lost control, and was thrown. He hit the ground hard enough to sustain serious injuries. Too scared to be fired, he gritted his teeth and shot the entire physically demanding film through daily pain. Number 4. Sony's criminal energy. After early test screenings, Sony was terrified the combination of medieval setting and rock music would alienate traditional audiences. So, the marketing department invented a fictional critic named David Manning, a made-up person supposedly writing for a real small-town Connecticut newspaper, and printed his fake glowing quotes on the posters. A Newsweek investigation blew it open. Sony was fined $1.5 million for deceiving audiences, and 2 senior marketing executives were suspended. Number 3. The tragedy off set. While the cameras captured a joyful comedy, a real tragedy was unfolding off set. Midway through production, Tudyk received news that one of his closest friends had died of an overdose. He broke down on set and turned to alcohol. The production threatened to implode. Heath Ledger took him in, brought him home, and cared for him for days alongside his girlfriend, keeping the breakdown hidden from the studio entirely. Number 2. Superglue in the face. During a rehearsal for one of the final sword fights, Ledger swung his steel prop weapon, misjudged the distance, and followed through. The blade hit Helgeland full in the face. Both of his upper front teeth were knocked clean out of his jaw. The set froze. The production team wanted to stop and get him to hospital. Helgeland refused. He picked his teeth up from the ground, asked for a tube of industrial superglue, and glued them back into his bleeding jaw on set. Then he kept shooting for the rest of the day. Number 1. The Cinematic Big Bang. A screenplay that almost got shredded. A lead cast by a man who heard a didgeridoo at an airport. A studio so desperate it invented a critic. A director who glued his own teeth back in with superglue. Nobody in Hollywood believed in this anachronistic experiment. But the courage of the people who made it created something that outlasted every prediction. A Knight's Tale didn't change the past. It changed the way Hollywood tells it.